Hello, everybody. Welcome to Keeping It Classy. I'm super happy to be here. Today's show is about fear and sabotage. We're going to get in the thick of it. Get your pearls ready. Get ready to clutch them. And I'm going to let I'm Chanel Monique, and I'm going to let the rest of the crew introduce themselves.
I'm Pastor Prophet Nakia Shipman. I'm going to jump right in there. I'm Pastor Prophet Nakia Shipman, the Body Life Pastor at Walk in the Spirit. I am Nakia Shipman. Purpose Beyond Boundaries is my coaching company. So if you have questions, you can go right there. It's right on the bottom of the screen. I would say versed more so in just getting over boundaries. I don't want to make it versed about life or relationship. I think any challenge, anything that will cause you to be stagnant, I definitely can get you pushed beyond that place. So if you want to reach out, you definitely can. Send me an email, Facebook, Instagram. I respond to all of those. And I'm going to point over to Shay.
All right, Shay is actually this way. It's the opposite, you know. So that's how right. That's it. Yep, that's where I'm at. So what's up, everyone? I am Shay Owen, certified life relationship business coach. Same thing, you know. Even though I don't necessarily, I think with coaching, just like with Nakia, we help you to help you to get to your fullest potential, help you to meet your goals, achieve your goals, help you to overcome obstacles, so on and so forth, in personal and professional lives. I also run a social media platform, all things social media, branding, marketing, websites, etc., etc., etc. Here with these lovely ladies, we are missing Dana tonight. She just got back from Vegas with her paparazzi. So Dana, we cannot wait to see you again on the show. But tonight we are going to go ahead and jump right back in to it once again. We hope that you do take the time out to share, help support us each week, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. as we go live. Tonight we are talking about fear and sabotage, Chanel.
Yes, fear and sabotage. So you know what? I wanted to let's talk about, ladies, how fear and sabotage go hand in hand when it comes to like what is the relationship between like fear and sabotage? What are your thoughts?
Well yeah, right.
Go ahead. One of the things that I would say, I think fear and sabotage can correlate, but it varies depending on our level of fear, right? Oftentimes it creates self-sabotage, not necessarily outside sabotage, but more so just direct self-sabotage. Fear creates our inability to be confident in who we are and what we're doing. And because of that, we then begin to sabotage our ideas, our relationships, and things of that sort. So it's just like assuming that they're going to fail, assuming that it won't work. So then you begin to work against yourself because of that fear. And so sometimes fear collaborates because I'm afraid, let me do it versus somebody else doing it. I would rather it be me than somebody else. So, you know, if it's going to fail, it's going to fail in my hands. And so then that's when we jump in and begin to sabotage our own selves or our own relationships.
That's good.
So even with that being said, just based off what Coach Nakia just said, when you release something into someone else's hand, you are trusting, right? So you have a fear of trust. Let's get to the root of it. So we're talking about the root of where does the fear actually come from, right? I know for me, I had a huge fear of public speaking. Like I hated public speaking. I was all confident, and you talk to me one on one. But if I had to get in front of a group of a bunch of people, I was extremely fearful in that. I was afraid of making different connections. I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of being surrounded by people who I felt were like on a different level than me, right? That I couldn't necessarily come up to that level with them. So it kept my circle very small. It kept my circle with people who I felt elevated above based off of where I was at that time in my life. And really, that just had to do with insecurity as well. So I know a couple of weeks back we talked about insecurities and overcoming, you know, those as well, and friendships and all of that. But I know for me, a lot of times because I was fearful of what somebody would think, I really probably blocked a lot of my blessings, you know, when it came down to those fears. But now it's like I use fear to push me forward, when I have to do something, and especially I think in the kingdom, when we become fearful, working, doing the things that God has called us to do, we definitely block our blessings. We block the release in other people. And so, what do if you start to talk to yourself about that fear, like Nakia was saying? It's like we can stop ourselves from self sabotaging, because fear and sabotage, they really do technically go hand in hand. Chanel, what are your thoughts?
I know. I think that I think so considering like all of our thoughts, the crazy thing is that like nobody is like an enemy to us like we are. You know what I mean? Like our own fear, like the fear of like the unknown or the fear of what somebody is going to think. I think that we paralyze ourselves. Like fear itself will paralyze you. And if you're paralyzed, you can't move forward. But if we if we can just get past the feeling of fear and like maybe just do whatever scared. You know what I mean? Like what's the worst that can happen? I think that sometimes we are so afraid of failure or so afraid of messing up and maybe what people will think or how we'll feel once we mess up. Like, we don't want to fail, excuse me, but like, I don't know any successful person that gains success without failure. And so what's the worst that can happen? I think that sometimes we allow people to make us feel like failures or like we're so hard on ourselves that we failed, that we focus and zoom on the failure and not look at failure as a redirect. It's just okay, it's not supposed to work this way. We should
Right.
try on something else. And if it continues, then maybe it will probably end up in a path the way we should go. Then maybe we weren't supposed to explore this at all, but we'll gain a new venture if we keep trying. So I think that we should not look at failure or something not working out as a death sentence, but more so as just a redirection. I think that we need to like maybe change our perceptions. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I think fear will also cause us to stumble. So, right, because we don't prepare enough, in that fearful place, because we are unsure of our abilities, and if we don't, I guess in this season of my life, I'm learning to put God in everything, so that even if I am afraid, He can help me overcome that, or see really what it is about myself that's causing me to be afraid. Am I afraid because I'm not prepared enough?
Hmm.
Am I afraid because I'm, thinking about what somebody else may say or what they may think? So really getting to the root of why are you afraid? A lot of times we become afraid because, let's take someone who has, a speech impediment, right?
Hmm.
That person may have been teased. So now that insecurity also feeds into it. So now they're consistently thinking about, am I going to get my words out properly?
Hmm.
Is it going to come out the correct way? Is my message going to be received? All of those things. Key, what do you think?
I guess for me, I mean, we can look at it a lot of ways. One of the things I think is really focusing on attacking fear for what it is, right? So the reality is in failing and me messing up and me falling short, it's an experience that you've had, right? But stop tying it to the old thing. Challenging yourself at every fear, challenging yourself at every obstacle. The reality is you'll never know how great you are if you don't challenge yourself at fear. The thing that you are afraid of. I don't necessarily mean snakes. I'm talking about being successful and getting over the hurdles. I'm
Right.
not gonna play with the snakes either.
Right.
However, but when we look at fear, what are you afraid of though?
Right.
What if what
The
people
root.
see in you really is true? What if what the Lord said about you really is true? What if everything that the outside world sees is really legitimately true and you just haven't taken that risk on yourself? You'll
Hmm.
take it on somebody else that you don't necessarily know what they're capable of, but what you saw is maybe their potential. What you saw is maybe
Right.
this thing. So what I would say is literally take fear as a challenge to be better, a challenge to overcome whatever the obstacle is. So no matter what the level of fear is, whether it's fear of failure, fear of success, fear of overcoming, no matter what the fear is, literally attack it. Attack it just
Hmm.
like you would something that would harm your children, your vision, your purpose. Attack it that same way. So that way you don't meet sabotage. You don't even, because sometimes we give people the tools to sabotage even our dreams, right? So
Hmm.
sometimes, you open up and you'll say, well, if somebody did this to me, then I will respond this way. So you don't think they're going to do that thing if it'll distract you? You
Yeah,
know, so literally taking our fear and making it a monument of success and not a fear. No
that's
longer
right.
allowing fear to control us, because that's what it normally does, right? Is it
Yes.
controls where you go. It controls
Yeah.
what you do. And so one of the things that I would challenge every person who struggles with fear, because we can talk about it all day, but how do you apply something to it to overcome it? What I would say is literally start making affirmations, literally, of, you know, I will no longer fear success. I will no longer fear failure. What I will do is I will accomplish my goals. I will achieve my dreams. I will focus on my visions. Making affirmations, though, because that's how we learn. We learn in repetition. So the more that you drive yourself to believe that I can do what I even think is impossible, I can overcome obstacles because I put it in my mouth and I've said it out of my mouth. So if you begin to affirm yourself, then you have the ability to overcome your fear.
That's
Right. And
good.
I think even with relationships, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we can be so afraid of being hurt that I'm talking about, male to female relationship, sister to sister relationship, male to male relationship. We become so afraid of being hurt by somebody, that we begin to push them away. Our actions begin to dictate, sometimes subconsciously, the things that we do to push that person away. You can be like, oh, well, let me see if they're really going to take this action from me. And so you begin to do it. And then the minute they do it, you're like, oh, yep, yep, yep. So don't justify your fear.
Mm.
Really deal with the fact that you are just afraid of being hurt, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to have hurt. Whether it's a friendship hurt or a relationship hurt, it doesn't feel good. For some people, it really feels like you've been punched in your stomach, you lost all your breath, you can't focus on life. When you consistently pour into other people and you don't receive that back, that is a repetitive hurt over and over. And so, even dealing with that, then set up different boundaries for yourself, right? Begin to establish boundaries and say, if I hurt, at least I tried. I still gave it my all in that relationship. Don't do that, Key. That's for me, because for me, in all honesty, it was no new friends. Like, I was good with the two little friends that I had, because I had been hurt. I had opened up my home to people. I had opened up my heart. I'm a giver. I'm a fixer, and all of those different things. And when I wasn't receiving it back, it hurt. So I was like, screw it. Like, I don't need no friends. Like, me and them, that was it. I had my two little friends, and then I met, Pastor Nakia and Chanel, and that friendship clicked so easy. It was almost easy for me to say why. It
But
would
but
have
so
been
I,
easy for me to push it away.
but so I think we also have to use wisdom, though, right? So I
True.
agree. One of the things that I think that you just said that was absolutely amazing is just that we can't justify our fear, right?
Yeah.
So don't find reasons to justify your fear. I absolutely agree with that. But I also do believe that there is a wisdom and a grace that comes from some of those failures that causes you to have fear, right? So
Absolutely.
what I would say, and I just literally had this in a coaching session today, what I would say, though, is don't negate the wisdom that you've also attained. The
Right.
reality is that normally when there is something in your spirit that says, this
That's
probably is a
okay.
bad idea, it probably just is a bad idea. I'm not going to cry over the spilled milk. The reality is I'm not going to spill it. The Holy Spirit just gave me a no. It's a no for me. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not saying that I'm afraid. What I'm saying is I'm tapping into wisdom. So
It's difference.
it's okay to utilize wisdom at the same time. I don't want any person at home to misunderstand what we're saying.
Right.
Literally, fear, yes, overcome it. Don't justify your fear in, oh, I'm going to mess up. Oh, I'm not going to be successful because of something that has happened in the past. If the Holy Spirit is saying, hey, I'm restoring to you relationship, I'm restoring to you vision, I'm restoring, let Holy Spirit do that. If you're not connected in the spirit realm and you just are like, I think good things are coming to me, let those things come, but also use the wisdom. One of the things that I think that we have to evolve and be able to be mature enough to handle is failure, because when failure comes, it normally teaches you for the next thing what not to do, right?
Right.
So if
Or
Yeah.
I
what to
start a
do.
business and I didn't have full vision and maybe I had the wrong partner, there are things that you learn in that failure that causes you to be smarter with that next move. So that way sabotage is not relevant. fear is not going to be relevant. Why? Because I'm using the wisdom from this failure so that I
Yes.
can be successful, so that I don't have to go back to the same places that I've come from. So use wisdom at the same time. Allow wisdom to help you conquer the fear. So the Bible tells
That's
us that
right.
perfect love cast out all fear. So I
Mm-hmm.
understand that in order for me to be able to move beyond this fear, I have to literally go to the Father so that I can get his perfect love, so that I can conquer this thing, so that I can move beyond this thing. So in relationship, if Holy Spirit says, yes, I'm sending you friends, I'm sending you relationship so that you are not by yourself, so that you will be able to grow and develop and move beyond. Receive that.
Right.
Now, if Holy Spirit says,
Get back.
please get on that bus and go back to Grass shit
Yeah.
down to 21 Mile or wherever you got to go, just go back. Because the
Yes.
Holy Spirit has given you wisdom to understand and be sensitive. So we also have to learn. So let me say that, learn from your failures.
Yeah.
So that way fear is not the thing that leads you. The
Yeah.
reality is if I literally, so one of the things in my first marriage and my divorce, one of the things I had to tell people, because people always came up like, oh, are you so sad? Are you so traumatized? Divorce in itself was difficult, right? But
Yeah.
what I didn't carry was all of the hard stuff. I didn't take all of the stuff that we got wrong. What I did was, what could I have added value into my marriage that would have changed the trajectory of this marriage? What I
Mhm.
took away from that marriage was what I could do better, what I could add to, what I could change, how I could be selfless. So
Mhm.
learn from your failures. Okay, nope. Next time I get in business, I'm not going to start this way. I'm not going to overgive. I'm going to think about, measuring how much food I give out if I'm going to go into cooking, or measuring how many kids I have if I'm going into babysitting, but thinking about what went wrong the last time that you
Right.
can improve upon. So don't build it as a fear, but build it as an opportunity to be better. Begin to challenge yourself. One of the things that we gravitate very easily to is the negative. It's life, right? So if somebody
Yes.
had a bad experience, we all get on that bandwagon. But instead of choosing that, choose to learn from that failure so that you can build and be even better because you've learned because of that.
Absolutely. And I
I
would
think so.
also say, and share your fears, right? Because if I'm fearful of something, I can go to my sisters and say, yo, I'm not really comfortable with this. It may not necessarily be a fear, but because I'm unsure of how to do it, it can hinder me. So I remember one time I was supposed to sing years ago. I was supposed to
Mhm.
sing leads at a church, and I was ready and I prepared for it. And the day of service, because I was so afraid because there were certain notes that I couldn't quite hit, I didn't show up for church. I literally made myself so sick,
Jeez.
because I wasn't transparent enough to say, can you help me in this area?
Yeah.
Because more than likely, there may be someone else that is around you that can help you overcome that fear. There may be somebody around you who can encourage you. A lot of times for me on social media, I will share my testimony. I'm not just doing that um, for my benefit. I'm doing it for, someone else's benefit. I'm talking about things that I've experienced so that they can overcome it. But not just that, it's also my way of putting myself out there,
Mhm.
right? Here are all of my imperfections because again, I had a huge fear of public speaking. Well, you can't do that and want to be a speaker. So I'm doing little things to make sure, and I've done speaking engagements, and sometimes I do it so afraid that even like you can hear the shaking in my voice.
Okay.
But the fact that I'm doing it, the next time, it's like riding that bike. The first time you get on it, you're gonna fall a few times. All right,
Mhm.
we're gonna get back on it again. I'm gonna ride a little bit better, but I still may fall. Like the more you do it, the enemy wants to keep you bound and even with yourself, you will literally sabotage all of the great things that can come from you just stepping out against that fear, turning around, or as they say, turning on the light for the boogeyman and
Yeah.
realizing that fear is really not there at all because you just overcame it. And even if you fail at it, at least you tried,
Right.
on that. What do you think, Chanel, about that?
I was gonna say, like, I think that sometimes we are like so consumed with fear, especially as it relates to relationships, that we have been like in hurtful places. So we don't want to, we don't necessarily want to experience hurt. But the truth is, at some point we will. Like in life, we hurt and we hurt. We infringe it, even if it's not on purpose, and then it occurs. It's just something that happens. We're so afraid of it, though. I think that like with our previous hurts, with our previous encounters, that we walk in new relationships that I know that like that God has like ordained for me, and I can speak on that because I've been in toxic relationships. I've had my toxic encounters, and even with the people that I absolutely knew loved me, I know for a fact. Okay, these two sisters up here, I know love me. Okay, and I know that they will never do the things that some people have done to me.
Yeah.
And one thing is, I know that they will not take advantage of me. I know that they are my safe places, right? But every place prior to them may not have necessarily been safe always. And
Yeah.
so when I begin to something begin to like maybe look like where I came from. For sure, I haven't had to have the conversation with Shay, but I definitely have had a conversation with Nakia. In that I'm like, hey, I'm looking like I went through A, B, and C, and you know what? Her first question to me was, her immediate question was, what did it look like? What did I do? And I think that when you get somebody like that you have to give people the opportunity to give them that, like give you that, to show that, listen, I'm here as a safety. I'm not here for to infringe on myself, to control, to manipulate, all of that stuff. Those are previous things, and I think sometimes that our eyes are still have the cataract of that on there, so that when we see authentic, genuine people, that's what we see, and so then that sabotages. We're so afraid of, man, A, B, C, D. It kind of all looks the same, so I'm going to treat you all the same. And sometimes it's not that way. Sometimes it really is. If it quack like a duck, if it bark like a dog, it is what it is. But then I just feel like, if we give the opportunity, if we push past our fear and not say it is over, but if we push past our fear or our, whatever that is, that we can find that we can have something good, that we actually have treasure, and that it's not necessarily something that we have to sabotage or call quits on, or throw away because of our previous experiences. For me, because fear, I lived in fear. I lived in a lot of chaos. I've lived in toxicness. I've lived in a lot. I've been a lot of places, right? And what I can say about this time in my life, because I did not allow it to, that even though I felt the presence of it, even though it looked like a way or whatever, it really wasn't. It really wasn't that at all. And so I think that we have to be careful not to allow our previous situations, our previous experiences, spoil the good that God has given.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think
does
it's
that make
also
sense?
familiar, right? So fear feels the same. It feels like fear. It's like causes you to either put up a fight of something. If you're walking somewhere and you feel like somebody's behind you, that's fear. But the
Mm,
same fear can happen to someone who is trying to do public speaking,
mm,
and it'll make your body react in such a way that's either going to make you fight or flight. Like you're going to either run from it, or you're going to stand it and face it and turn around and deal with it.
right.
I think, like you were saying, transparency in it for me, it helps. If I am transparent about I'm supposed to be doing a Bible study for my church, that is a whole new realm, right? And the
Mm,
minute I say yes to God, whatever you want me to do, and all these other things, I knew things would begin to happen that would push me out of my comfort zone. And I was very comfortable being behind the scenes. Well, if that's not what God has for me, and now I'm going to a new season, and I start to think there's no reason I'm positioned around the people that I'm positioned around anymore. There's no reason why God has allowed me to make the connections that I've made. So now I'm going to say, hey, teach me how to study,
mm,
because I don't want to be afraid in that place where I just kind of back up again, because then I'm not living to my fullest potential. There's no reason why I was able to overcome domestic abuse. There's no reason why I was able to move past the drinking, because God has a purpose for me. If He didn't, I would have died in my mess. Back in my early 20s, late 20s, early. Okay. Anyways, anywho's, we're not gonna talk about how long ago that was. But I really want to start discussing how do we move beyond it, and I want to just give the few people say do it afraid. Literally, if you're afraid to, this is my third marriage. The day after I got married, I was just like, holy crap, what did I just do? And it wasn't in a form of regret. It was in a form of fear. Oh, this one is going to end up the same way. I'm about to move. I'm about to repeat some of the same things that kind of got me in trouble last time, but now I'm doing it with somebody new, but it's a completely different person. It's a completely different experience. So, had I allowed that fear to take over, I probably would have done something to sabotage my marriage before it even had an opportunity to get to where it is today. So I would say definitely do it afraid, and then definitely be transparent in your fear. If sometimes you may not even know. I think a lot of people don't even know why they're afraid. They just feel like they're afraid. So it could be that someone maybe beat you up about it later. Let me just put out there, dark skinned girls like myself were not perceived to be pretty back in the day of light skin, right? And so I never wanted to go outside because I didn't want to get any darker, So I was always afraid to be in the presence of a lighter skinned woman, because I was going to be perceived as not being pretty. So I had a legit fear of even being around other beautiful women. I felt, that goes back to being intimidated and insecure and all of that. But I would have never said that back then because I didn't know. Key.
So one of the things that I will say, first, you're not even that dark, but I couldn't,
No, no, no.
I couldn't move past it. I couldn't move past it. I couldn't move
No,
past
no,
it.
no, 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 no. Hold on. I promise you, if I showed you, I'm gonna put up a before and after. Okay. Before, when I was younger, I swear my grandmother said I'm the only person she knows that went from being super dark skinned to lighter skin. I was very dark back in the day, and I don't know how. I probably did a whole lot of praying as a
Oh,
kid
baby.
because
Or
my
use
skin
that
was.
stuff Michael Jackson used. It's
Come
okay.
on.
It's okay.
Look,
It's okay, honey. But no, what I would really
yeah,
say though,
thank you.
just to just to add though, oftentimes fear is rooted in something. I heard Shay say, we don't always know. But I think one of the most important things for you to do is to dig. I want to be so in tune with me that ain't nothing you gonna get out of me that I don't know that's in there. And so sometimes we avoid ourselves, but go to the root of who you are. Fear is rooted in something that has happened, an experience, something you saw. But it's a you thing. Oftentimes we want to put it on someone else. So I see my daddy and my daddy did this or my aunt did this. The reality is how it made you feel is the reason why you have this level of fear, this level of sabotage, this level of mistrust, this level, it's a you thing. And so when we can internalize that and begin to deal with ourselves and get that stuff uprooted, then we can grow beyond the fear. The reality is, I was afraid of dogs like my entire life. Dogs just, I don't do dogs. My dad had a dog, a very well trained dog. My dad sent the dog to school, but somehow Vicious, that's his name, he got out of the gate, and for me, it terrified my life. So I don't care if the dog is small or big. I figured the dog was very vicious. That was just my mindset of it. Um, Now we have a gentle giant. Our little baby dog, he ain't little, but he is so sweet. He will literally bring the thief to the TV and say, "Would you like to know where more TVs are?" However, it took a very long time for me to be okay and connect with that animal. I got my baby a dog, a small dog. My friend's dog, she got a small dog. Kobe, I would say, was the first dog because he was a sick dog. So he was like anti-people. So I had to begin to break up some of that stuff, identify what it was in me. What was my trigger, though?
Right.
It wasn't based on anybody else. So what I will tell every person at home, every person that will rewatch this, in the replay, or everybody that's watching now, is find out the root of your fear. If you can get to the root of your fear, you can overcome your fear. And if you can overcome your fear, then sabotage is no longer your enemy. Why? Because you understand now what your triggers are, why it's a trigger. Oftentimes we don't know the why, we just know that we're responding. We understand that our bodies say run or stay or fight or flight. We don't know the why. So dig into you. Be more concerned about you than you are about other people. We are so concerned with other people's voices, their opinions and
Yeah.
or views, when the reality is
They
when you
don't
go home and go to
matter.
sleep, they ain't there. That's
Right.
first.
That's right.
Hmm.
The second thing is most people that are watching are either envious because they didn't do it first.
Come on.
So all of the stuff that they say isn't necessarily from a pure place. So figure out your
That's
thing,
good.
figure out your root, so that way you can be the best version of you. Because the reality is, if I am at the best version of me, you can say whatever you like. It's all I got. I can't give
See?
you what I don't have.
Come
One
on.
of the
Say
things
it.
I mentioned today is character. Character is a strong thing. I don't care what
Yes,
anybody tells you.
absolutely.
Character is one that is very, 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 very hard to change because it's my care, it's who I am. It is the fiber of my being. So it is normally harder to change because what's in my character is what has
Mhm.
been developed over time, right?
Right.
So I have to
Mhm.
self-assess me, right? And
Yeah.
understand, okay, this is me. This is
Yes,
how I do this. This is why I do this. But character is something totally different than my feeling and emotion, something that is subject to change. Character is really literally. So I grew up this way. I wash dishes. I love like this, you know, different things like
absolutely.
that. So we literally have to go to our core and evaluate those things and stop allowing people. And I'll always say this, stop allowing people to put on you what God didn't place in you. Like,
That's
stop
it.
it. Just at some point in our
That's
lives, we have to literally take a stand and say, that's not who I am. It's not even a
absolutely.
reflection of my character. So I'm not going to even allow you to just label that on me instead of
Yes,
receiving all that stuff. So the reason we deal and struggle with fear is because we are afraid to get down to the core of who we are, because we've allowed people to label us. We've allowed people to come and tell us what to do, what not to do, versus just really saying, let me spend time with the
With
real
me.
me.
that's
Let me
good.
dig up.
That's
And
an
when you
ugly
dig up
place.
some of those,
It
but when you
is.
dig up some of the wells, they are ugly, right?
They
So
Yeah.
are.
don't get me wrong. You may have to do some crying. You may,
Hmm.
I told one of my friends,
Some
listen, get rid of
forgiving.
your kids. Listen,
Look,
get rid of the kids.
because it's
Hmm.
gonna be ugly,
Listen,
honey.
it's gonna be ugly. You're gonna be,
Yes.
I'm talking about some of them tears, you're gonna be crying and you ain't gonna be able to breathe. The ugly cry,
I know that.
snotting and all of that stuff.
I
But the
know.
reality is you will know who you are. You will know those triggers.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
fear you'll be able to control, because guess what I understand now? I understand where it came
Mhm.
from. So I know how to speak to it. I know how to
Yeah.
talk to it. I know how now to exert my authority versus my fear, because I've identified, oh, that was when I was 5 years old, and that giant is no longer a giant.
See, come
I'm no
on,
longer that grasshopper. So
man.
identifying those things for yourself is what will get you over fear, and that way you don't have to even deal with
Yeah.
sabotage at all.
And I ain't gonna
See,
lie. I
you
would
said
sabotage
all.
everything if a
Listen,
spider, a snake, height. I've come to realize me and bugs and certain things I'm just gonna probably always be afraid of. Anything that come flying at me,
And
I'm
we gonna speak to that too. Let me tell you, I had to learn this the other day. No, we gonna speak to it.
no,
No,
I
no,
know
no,
you
no,
good with
no,
this,
no,
sis.
no, no, no.
look.
I need you to
Me
overcome
always.
that fear, even of them bugs. Let me tell you what I had to tell the
Look,
spider the other day. We can't be in the same place. So I command you to leave my
tell
space
you.
because I need my peace. So you got to learn your authority, even over these bugs. Okay. I don't like mosquitoes, but I'm going to speak to them. What I will not do is live in fear and
No,
sabotage, jump out of a car and then kill myself because I'm trying to get away from this spider.
I've
See,
done that. I'm not even gonna lie. There was a
listen.
spider in my car, and that car kept rolling, and I had to
We
get up
need you
out
to
of it.
teach Bible study. So you need to live and not die. So speak to that spider and stay in that car.
Look,
Hallelujah.
look, and so
Hallelujah.
I just make sure my area is clean and well kept. And
A
when
spider
husband
don't
comes
care
home,
about
Yeah,
that.
a spider gonna
look,
come out from outside and come right into your space, and you'll
lies,
never know it.
He don't care
lies.
how clean that space is. He's
Oh,
going to invite himself in and be like, hey, girl,
Mm-mm.
hey.
listen, he'll
Nope,
come through
I
a
can't.
drain. Don't play.
I
Like it's
I've
So
tried.
one of the things, no, but this is serious, sister, too.
Seriously.
This is serious to you, Shay. This is serious to everybody at home. One of the things that the Holy Spirit literally has been talking to me about, though, is exercising our authority. You have authority over everything. If we go back to Genesis, he literally gave us the earth to subdue it. So if I can subdue the whole entire earth, a spider, a snake, a dog, failure, success, all of those things, I have that same power, that same grace to subdue and take authority over. So
Mhm.
one of the things that our words have power. There are mountains that we create literally with our words.
Yes.
And so that is even where that sabotage come from. When we say
Yes.
that I can't, I won't be able to, I will not.
Yeah.
So I literally, my vow is I'm not speaking negative, not in my marriage. I don't care how mad I am, even in my marriage. I'm not gonna say, well, that don't work. No, no. What will work for me is a change of this behavior. What will work, because what we do is we give life
That's
to so many
good.
other things and we don't realize it. We give life to it because we're saying it out of our mouth. The
Or we're
cycle
thinking it.
can't be broken
Okay.
because guess what I'm doing?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. 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 But
It
it
is
can.
our
But
fear. So one of the questions that Chris was just asked,
yeah.
she said, but can a fear of something be because of what we see? Absolutely. But what does the
Yeah.
Bible tell us about what we see? What we
It's
see is
temporary.
temporary and can change. So that means you're going to remain fearful because every second somebody is actually changing and it
Yeah.
causes a fear. So you have to break that cycle
Right.
with your words. You have to start making declarations even over what you see. This will no
Mhm.
longer be a thing for me. I declare and decree. So what I do, I declare and decree that not only am I strong and mighty, but what I will overcome is I will overcome the fear of words. I will overcome, literally, I have been communication for me. I could sit on any platform, I could get up in any, but when I talk to my husband, I don't talk. I literally, it was a fear for me just because it was like, yeah, I don't want to do this because I love him so much that sometimes I don't want to hurt you with my words and I don't want you to hurt me with your words. So let's just not even talk about it. However, because I love him so much and my covenant means so much to me, that guess what I do? I talk. I
Yeah.
talk even when it's hard. I talk even when
Yeah.
I want to cry. I talk when I'm sad. I talk when I'm mad.
That's
Why?
good.
Because I want to overcome what has been the pattern. I want to break
To
the
not
cycle.
sabotage it.
Right.
Right.
I don't want to sabotage it and keep allowing you to let's have this same pattern. Absolutely not. So, what I
That's
need the
right.
devil to understand is that I understand my authority. I understand that not only do we walk by faith and not by sight, but what I also understand is that the Father he said, greater work shall we do. So, if he
Yes.
sends his word of healing, I can speak this word in my marriage that we have healthy communication. I can speak this thing in my marriage that guess what? We are not tearers down, but we build each other up. So,
That's
whatever I
good.
need to see, I need to begin to speak versus being a part of that cycle that continues. And so, what we do instead of breaking the cycle, destroying it, we then
We
go
feed
into
it.
a rut and get
Yeah.
sad. Oh, he treated me like this. My friend, she said this. No, no. What I will do now, that's if it matters to you. See, that's the
Mhm.
difference. We have to
There you
make
go.
something bigger than ourselves.
There
So
you
if it
go.
matters to you, then you begin to declare over that thing. I break the cycle. I break the cycle over my children, my husband, his
Our
children. It don't
friends
matter
too.
to
That's
me
good.
And the thing
because
is
they
too,
matter that much.
and
That's
based off
good.
what she said, it's like, who are you seeing the stuff from? Is it something that you've seen out of your past behaviors, or are you fearful because you saw someone else do it? Maybe they didn't
Yeah.
do it the right way, or maybe that they handled it the wrong way, or like, are you basing what you see off of what someone else did or what someone else told you about, or things like
Hmm.
that? So you got to be careful about that too. Just because someone else failed at it doesn't mean that that's going to be your failure. And to me, I feel like if you try it, then it's not failed. The only
Hmm.
time you fail is when you actually don't try that thing that you're afraid of. The minute you take a step towards doing it, then you succeeded because you pushed past whatever it was telling you not to do it in the beginning.
But
Absolutely. I think we got to go ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
I
I already
was
talked.
going to
Go
say,
ahead.
you know what I was going to say? I think we got to look at, like, even like when did we see what we saw that caused us to be fearful? Because I'm working on a book, right? I'm working on a book. And a part of what the father was showing me is like we like sometimes things happen in our childhood, and then we looking at that from a child's eyes. So are we still stuck on the arguments that we saw between or the unsuccessful or failed relationships between our parents? We looked at that through childlike eyes. Now that we are 20, 30, 40, 50, we got to look at that different because we don't know the dynamics or anything like that. I think that sometimes when it comes to looking at like our perception and perspective of things, like what really happened, don't take it from your viewpoint from at that moment. I think sometimes we got to pull ourselves out of it and from the mindset of or the position that we are now to see it it through more mature eyes, or even like sometimes we just have to. There's no understanding that we can have of our own, that we actually have to have the Father come in and say, hey, I need you to give us a clear perspective of what happened. Like what is it that I'm looking at? So that, because sometimes when we have clarity from God, then we can go based off of His truth and not off of what we think is true. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just my little tidbit.
So I appreciate that you just mentioned perception though, because I think even beyond just being a kid, right? I think even present day, a lot of stuff is our perception.
Hmm.
One of the things that we do, and it's a very common thing, we judge people based off what we perceive and base ourselves based off of intent. That's
Absolutely.
wrong anyway. The
Absolutely.
reality is, at the end of the day, we can look at somebody else's story, we can look at the situation, we can look at anything and say, oh, okay, well, this is what it was. It's our perception, it's our view, it's the way that we've
Yeah.
interpreted the situation. So the reality is what do you do to make it better? So what I would say, because we all can just gravitate towards the negative, right? So if I see something that's wrong, can I be afraid? Absolutely. But why
Mhm.
am I afraid? Why not literally deal with what I see? So if I
Absolutely.
see that, okay, this is unstable. Hey, our friendship isn't working. Hey, girl, this don't work for me. It might work for you, but let me say what I need. Like,
Mhm.
we have to stop. What we
Transparency.
do is, again, we build mountains. So because I
We
see it,
do.
I'm afraid. I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
Absolutely not. This is my life. I need you to know I'm afraid. I'm
Yep.
afraid because what you're showing me says you're unstable. What you're showing me
Mhm.
says you're unreliable. What you're
Mhm.
showing me, but the problem is because of our own inconsistency and our immaturity and
Right.
our lack of looking within ourselves, we don't address that part. So
Yeah.
hallelujah. Amen. What
I
I would
like it.
say is when you begin to look inner, you don't
Mhm.
look as much outward, right? Because
Yep.
guess what? I understand me. I can own me. I can't own you, but I can own me. So I can own what I allow to intimidate me, allow to
Right.
cause me to be fearful, as well as what I tolerate. So
Right.
Absolutely.
because I don't want this same repeat cycle, because I don't want you to be a failure, I don't want our marriage to fail, I don't want our children to fail, I don't
Do
want my
something
friendship
different.
to fail, I'm
Do it
gonna
different.
declare over those things. I'm gonna make declarations. I'm gonna make because that's it matters to me. If it doesn't
Right.
matter, then you don't fight for it. You don't work
Right,
for it.
that part,
So
and
stop
that's what I was
talking
gonna
about it.
say. Sometimes you have to make a choice. What is, weigh it out. Do you want to choose? You want to choose to be successful? Do you want to choose to try to work for success, or do you want to, or you want to take the easy way out, and that's sabotage? If you choose sabotage, you'll never know the success beyond it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Fear. I always look at fear like this. It always seemed this way to me. Not just the false evidence of appearing real, but to me, fear is faith for the worst. Like it's so easy to to get in your head like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. And when it happened, you try to figure out why this stuff happened to me. You had whole full on faith for the worst and try to figure. So you either faith and fear is
Don't
it,
operate
it's
in the same
it
place.
can't operate the same.
Together.
So
They
either you're
cannot.
gonna allow your faith to exceed your fear, or you're gonna allow your fear to exceed your faith. Either way, faith is
Right.
the substance of things hoped for, and the
The
evidence of
evidence
things
is
not
not
seen. Right,
Mhm.
the evidence of things not seen. Fear is faith for the things that not seen. But not only is it seen, now that you're conjuring it up and
You
making it up, that
create
this is
it.
what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so which
yeah.
one are you? We got to choose. We got to choose faith, or we're going
Yeah.
to choose fear. Are we going to choose success, or are we going to choose sabotage?
Yeah. I think one way as well of identifying if it's starting to make you sick, like I said, for me, I know that I used to get really sick. Let me be afraid of something back in the day. Ooh, I
Oh
was
yeah, I used to get
nauseous.
bubble guts.
Back when I could get pregnant, I used to think I was pregnant because I was just like, okay, why am I sick? Why am I throwing up? Why am I, you know, I'm like all kinds of things are going on. So really, like he said, just really um, identify the why behind it, be transparent about it, turn around, look at it, and face it. Face it. Talk to somebody. There's somebody that may be in your circle, or if they're not in your circle, if you're kind of a loner, then you can connect with other people. You can connect with a coach. You can connect with somebody that's going to go in, not allow you to do the kind of woe is me and like you said blame all the other people or situations going on in your life because everybody has a lot of things going on in their life. That's just fact
Mhm.
at this point. So turn around, look at yourself and see what's going on. But we are coming to a close at this time. We do thank you for joining us. We hope that you tune in again next week. Next week we're actually going to have some fun because I feel like we talked about so many hard topics, and we want you to continue to watch us, continue to share, comment, like, subscribe, all those good things. So, for those of you that will be joining us
Yeah.
next,
Da, 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 da.
we're going to play a game. This game is called Relationship Debates. We want you to join in with us. So,
Hey.
the more commenting that you do to let us know that you are here supporting and watching and sharing the podcast, we actually have some great prizes, and we will be announcing that throughout the week. So you must tune in. Let your friends know. It's literally just games. We're going to pull cards. They're going to be shuffled up. Key got the cards, so I'm going to make sure she shuffled them bad boys real good.
Yeah.
It's going to be some juicy, honest conversations. But join us next week. I'm sure you'll clutch your pearls on some of our answers. We want to hear your answers.
Oops.
And we appreciate everyone seriously for tuning in, because you could have been anywhere else, but you decided to spend this time here with us. Hey, ladies, any final thoughts, questions, comments before we close
Nope,
out of here?
deal with you so you don't have to live in fear.
Deal with it.
Choose success and not sabotage.
Yep. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya.